on into it. Spawning over in the top, or in the bottom left of Alcyone, it is the blue Protoss, it is Jieshi.
Up right, our red Protoss is going to be from offside. It is Firefly.
Yeah, Firefly's been very smart with his build choices that he's been doing in a lot of his matchups. And I mean, this is not a region where these players really have to worry about PvZ at all. And for a lot of them, given that you see there's 6 Protoss out of 8 players left in the bracket, they've had a lot of time just to gear up, get their PvP practice in, and really hone their skills in this matchup.
They have to be honed, because if they're not, you're not going to have a good time in this bracket. You know, you've got a small chance of beating a Terran. And in fact, the section that these guys are in, it's all PvP until either upper bracket finals or perhaps like lower bracket round 2, and that's depending on, you know, Oliveira actually getting knocked out of the winner bracket next tomorrow. So yeah, these guys are going to have to play pretty much purely PvP. They've had a bit of practice of that in the build up to this point in the group stages as well. So we'll see if they can keep that PvP coming. Here in the playoffs, I think you're right. Jieshi did have a really good series against Firefly, right? Was able to put himself into a really good spot. Kind of shut him down heavily, and it has been quite an aggressive player in general, and especially in this PvP. He doesn't shy away from the long games, but he's definitely one of these guys who says, oh, I've got an opportunity to do something here, so I will take it. And it's going to make this best of 5 a challenge for Firefly, who is mixing this up. He's already going for this 1-gate setup. This is what I was talking about a lot in that last series that we might see in like Europe later, but Firefly is going to bring it out. The 1-gate set up to expand, and it just is that something you can do now more easily because of the sentry being a little bit different and how those units that typically punish this interact with that sentry.
I think the sentry change was great for this matchup. Like, removing the tag, making it deal a little bit of extra damage, just makes it so much less of only a hallucination unit, right? It just adds a lot more fluidity to it. Jieshi, on his side of things, will be going for 2 Adepts. Now, that does usually signal that you want to be aggressive early on, get some damage done if you can. And I do see his minerals, they were stacking up a little bit, but it's just for number 3 and 4 on the Adept counter thus far. Firefly is taking that very quick Nexus on his side of things, so you can definitely see that, yeah, a different PvP so far out of both these.
Very different PvP. It's going to be fun to see that, right? Because if this continues through the whole series, we might have a bunch of PvPs back-to-back in terms of today's schedule, but it's going to be kind of a little bit of a different vibe each and every time, as we do have a couple of Adepts making their way up here. There's going to be a wall off that just about gets put in place, and Firefly will sit with a couple of sentries and a third one popping, so you really will have all those hallucinations available over the next little while.
Yeah, and both of them are in fact Fireflies, packing out quite a few gateways, and oh, the Adepts do get in here. A little bit of force field action going on, and these sentries pack a punch now, so you see that the shields do come off very quickly, but I tell you what, Jieshi's not going to be too sad about that. 5 probes going down, and you get to keep them all alive as well. Uh-oh, that's a little sentry that's wandered a little bit too far away from home, and will it get away? Oh, just about.
Sentry's got buffed, but not that much.
No, well, I mean, one against 4 Adepts, yeah, you're still looking at an unfair fight there. And, ooh.
Nice force fields.
That's so many sentries so fast, by the way.
Yes, it's...
Uh-oh.
When you shade into the trap was so good, you just have to see it again for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, that was impressive. Here, I'm going to get trapped again for the same force fields.
It was so good, it wasn't worth it for just 1 Adept, man. Have another.
Yeah. He has to be careful about these Adepts, though. Like, these shades, I guess I was almost thinking he might just let them finish and recall them out kind of thing. Because it started off great, but this was a little bit too eager, I'd say.
Definitely got scary. You were right, by the way. I wanted to pick up on, you said there's a lot of sentries, and it is a lot of sentries. It's very sentry heavy. And Firefly, now he's just on 3 gates. It almost feels like he's set to just push. The problem is that he's had to use a lot of force fields on Adepts, and he's had to chase those Adepts around, so he's never gotten across the map. And now I feel as though you're in this situation where you can't push anymore, so now you're going to drop down your tech, and it is Forge and Robo. So that's quite far down the line, and to me it doesn't really make sense to have built this many sentries and then to just tech, because you don't need 5 to get the information that you need, right? Force fields, yes, are nice, but he doesn't need to catch the Adepts being aggressive. To me, 5 sentries is, I want to be across the map and have force fields to take advantage of that. So I think he missed his opportunity here. And now we see the Blue Protoss getting the 4 extra gates and glaives, so we're going to see another round of aggression, and that's going to be something a little bit different as well.
Certainly is. I mean, it's a very quick robo. He's already got an immortal out as well. Firefly's getting a big scout here to see units, or rather a lot of gateways coming out, and it will be a lot of gateways. And Jieshi is very much about dealing the damage, just making Firefly feel uncomfortable this game. I don't think he's revealed the Warp Prism, but maybe it got spotted by a hallucination. But Firefly very well positioned with Stalkers in the main. I mean, this game is going to be fireworks. Like, Adept Glaives don't really get better the longer the game goes. In fact, they get significantly worse the higher the tech armies come. Ooh, Firefly thinking that they were going to pop there to get the Guardian Shield, and Jieshi, yeah, he's moving out, Wardy. This is going to be very hard to hold.
I really think so. He gets some good damage early. He's now building into this very aggressively timed army because of Glaives. It finishes fast. The Adepts build quickly. It is a timing window where you need to hit and hit now because Adepts do not, do well later in the game. We start up cannons. You can see the defense coming in from Firefly. He recognizes what's up. No, Warlocks, he can avoid all of the stack defense. Okay, we do lock a few Adepts out. They should turn around and fight. And then the Stalkers in the main. That force field is actually huge. And Firefly is going to get an extremely good opening trade.
I tell you what, I thought it was going to go way worse, but having those Stalkers in the main, and these force fields have been clean, Wardy. I love the cancel on the third. It's got shield battery overcharge, keeping that cannon alive for absolute days here. More cannons as well. Tell you what, is Firefly actually able to do this? I mean, it's still going to be hard. Jieshi brings his own force fields into the fight, and he's still got a lot of firepower behind this.
He does. He's got the 2 Immortals which pack a punch, but I feel like he lost so much of his buffer that's meant to really overpower quickly. As the Adepts will go fighting in the main. Just trying to do what they can. Prism coming up, +1 attack on the way from Firefly now finishing. So we're starting to see some of this tech coming line from Firefly, and the fact he's survived to this point is obviously a very good sign for him. Gives him a chance.
It really does. Like, Firefly's having to bounce between his main and his natural here. I mean, the cannons help a lot at defending against this. And these Adepts, they're like, you know what? Let's just go into this natural, baby. And the force field defense from Jeshi's good. Keeps those Immortals out of the fight here, but still, the positioning here, it's very, very tricky. Jeshi's own force fields are quite good. Stalkers will do a good job of tanking those Adepts, but the Adepts are a great tank against everything that Firefly has. But Firefly still managing to hold, still keeping these Adepts out of his main. This is truly a very chaotic game.
Good defense, using those cannons and batteries well, and now his Stalker. I mean, this is the point where you don't really want to be with all these resonating glaive Adepts because they just don't trade well. The deeper this game goes, they're going to shade in right now. The force field's still making it difficult for the Immortals to shoot. Look how many times the Immortals are just moving and not shooting. However, the Adepts are tanking well, and the Immortals are now packing a bit of a punch. The Stalker count has been reduced here. Can Firefly get enough units up? The stack defense has run dry. No cannons left over. The batteries are out of energy. We chase them all down to the left, and it doesn't look like Firefly is going to have the final few numbers that he needs to keep himself alive. Another Immortal shows up. Now it's 2-on-2. He is going to have the target fired down there. Goes 1-for-1 on that trade, but the Adept numbers here. This is where Adepts are great, right? Because they're overwhelming once again, and that's a slow warp into Stalkers on the right side, which is not ideal. We try to get the Prism. We do get the Prism, but it might just be a warp in too late.
Probes against Glaive Adepts. That is not that is not a sight you ever want to see if you're the probe guy. And I tell you what, Jieshi, he came in swinging, and it absolutely paid off in dividends here. GG, a nice start to this series between these two players. I liked a lot of how Firefly was handling that, but it's such a hard position to get yourself out of, like having to defend your main, your natural, blocking all the time. And I think he was doing a decent job, but in the end, that was just a game of he has so many Adepts. And once the force fields ran out, those Immortals could get in the fight, and that's really when the real damage started really packing on into it. And good amount of cannons and static D, but Jieshi, it was a nice build out of him.
It was something different. I really felt like Firefly almost had the defense, just couldn't quite pull it together one last time. If he got the Prism sooner, that would have been a big deal. I think he went for the Prism when it was obviously too late, right? The warping had gone off, and he just lost too many Stalkers. That is the moment where actually you do see Adepts being good, because again, they got back to those overwhelming numbers. So it was very close for Firefly, not quite good enough. And now we'll head into game 2 with that Jieshi 1-0 lead in the best of 5 as we continue through day 1 of the Asia playoffs. Yeah, today we've got Europe coming up later as well. It's a fun day of StarCraft that we've got scheduled, as we're just taking a moment to host the game, so I'll throw the schedule up. What is it about Europe you may be looking forward to, Ben, and out of those matches?
I'm looking forward to hearing Lambo.
Yeah, me too.
I think, I think that's the one that any StarCraft fan just looks at. It's like, that's a great one. Like, anytime you get players of the same nationality going at it, there's just that little bit extra on the line, I feel. Like, not only are they playing for who's the best, but it's like, who's potentially the best from my country. And Germany's always been a very, very solid contender for having one of the deepest rosters, I guess, of like really solid players. And yeah, I think both of those guys have a lot to prove right now. I'm also, I don't know if this is the sadist in me. I'm very much looking forward to Clem Bly as well. You know, I just want to see what happens. Yeah, that should be exciting as well.
Yeah, no, I'm actually with you. I think Clem Bly is a really fun matchup where it's like, Clem should just batter him. Like, you know, no offense, Bly, but you've been fairly inactive for a while now. You know, this is Clem's day. But then you never count Bly out completely. Like, he's probably gonna have one game, I feel like, which at least looks closer than it should. I know that maybe doesn't seem like the highest of praise, but like when you're playing against Clem and you've been fairly inactive, I think that is pretty high praise. Bly just has that effect on people, man. So
he does, and
yeah.
the fact that he's made playoffs this many times in a row now, despite the kind of like, hey, I'm not playing that much or not able to play that much, and I mean, Bly is still able to play more games than anybody in a day, just because his games end up being 4 minutes long. But still, it's one of those that I'm very curious about. I'm also looking forward to see Showtime Goblin actually. Like I think though the matchup that excites me the least might be the Hearthstone Wayne one, even though that's also a good matchup on paper. Just because the other three are just, again, the sadist in me, just the joyful lad in me just wants to see who actually does win in all those. Because I also think Goblin's been playing good. Like that series against Clem, he did not look outgunned, especially in that first game that they had, which just tells me that Goblin's feeling it this season as well.
Something you said there made me think of a funny memory. I think one time someone was playing against Bly, and they came in the game. He's like, you know, they were being a little BM or something. They were like, I can't believe I lost against you. And Bly's like, well, I think it's obvious why. I play so much more than you. And they're like, question mark, question mark. Bly's like, look at our match history. I've played 20 games a day. It's like 20 games, and it only goes back 1 hour because he's just playing like 3-minute drone pulls.
Yeah, like one memory I have of Bly is we were all at WESG Europe, and while the tournament was going on, I think Bly had his matches starting in like a couple of hours, and he was playing in one of these like weekly tournaments, and I'm like, Bly, what the hell? And he's like, it's okay. And then he shows me, just like does that 12 pool Ravager rush against like a Terran, just wins in like 8 minutes in a best of 3, and he's like, see, it's easy, and then just keeps on doing it. I'm just like, oh my god, this guy lives on a different planet.
Amazing. Well, we are just killing a couple moments here. I'm not sure what the holdup is, but our admin had to check something. That's what we were told. So, a couple moments. Hopefully, everything is in the way it should be, and we can go into game number 2 of this best of 3.
No,
best of 5. Or best of 3.
Best of 5, Wardy. Best of 5, and Jieshi takes the lead. Maybe a little bit of a surprise for a lot of people, but
he's been playing well this season.
He has. Like, I'm just going to, while we're doing the countdown for the second map here, just to talk about who these players have played. Jieshi went 3-0 in the group stage. He beat SV 2-0, Coffee 2-0, Cyan 2-0, so still yet to drop a map. On Firefly side of things, it was a lot more. He went 2-1 against Jim, 2-0 XY, and then he played Lemon 0-2, Coffee 0-2, and then finally making it through by defeating Haas. So not an easy road for him, and that's why he's found himself in this matchup against this man. Spawning over on the top left-hand side of Oceanborn, it is Jieshi.
In the bottom right, representing Offside Gaming, the red Protoss is Firefly.
Yeah, Firefly was the guy that went for the one gate expand on the previous map. Now, it wasn't your low ground, it was the more European-centric style that you've talked about, where it's the gateway and the cybercore on the high ground.
Yeah.
But will he go? We'll see. Firefly has been a guy that's been pretty good about mixing up his builds in other matchups, at least.
Yes, he's definitely not like a get stuck in his way kind of player, right? He knows what he does. He knows he does it well, and so he's very good at kind of mixing up his builds and everything. So that's always good to see. As we have ourselves the early game, really just taking a couple moments, nothing too wild or crazy just yet. And it is going to be 1 gate versus 2 gate already as well, so you're going to see a pretty similar setup. To be fair, Firefly doesn't wall off fully with that cybercore over there. But it's one of these situations, I think, where if this is going to be, you know, both players kind of playing this series out and kind of like saying, okay, well, I'm comfortable 2 gate and I'm comfortable 1 gate, we are likely just to see this on repeat. There's nothing wrong with kind of seeing this matchup play out with that opening on repeat so far. Both of these builds still have their advantages and their kind of benefits, so I imagine we're going to see a fair amount of that.
Yeah, there's been no giga downfalls, right, of those builds happening. I mean, the 2-gate, very popular for very good reason. There was definitely a time in previous patches where Void Rays were a little bit better, and it became so difficult to try and break any sort of 1-gate low ground expansion. And Firefly, he's going to go for the Sentry again. Nice and early. Gets the Zealot just to make sure he can get the Nexus nice and early. And Jieshi, he's all about that Adept pressure again. And I'm very curious whether it's going to be a follow-up of more, and it is by the looks of it. He's found a style that he likes to be aggressive with against this sort of opening.
Yes. He obviously just likes getting those Adepts out. He likes poking with them, the map control he can gain from them. So he obviously just wants to make this happen. So he started off a bit of a wall off on the low ground, which is interesting. So that I was not really expecting as Firefly drops in the Robo facility. He's not going to go via the Stargate here. Just going to play that Robo as his setup here now.
Yeah, definitely a curious way of going about this. And he does have a probe there at the top there just to make sure nothing gets through. Does reveal that he is going for a Robo. So that is a nice little scout there for Jieshi. And it's going to be 6 Adepts for him. He is very much about the Adept so far in this series, isn't he? Like, he hunkered on down in game 1, got the Adept Glaives eventually as well. Firefly with a proxy pylon out on the map with that probe. Wonder what he's going to be looking for. By the way, he's made a complete wall off with the Nexus here to make that Adept shading go all the way around. That's actually really nice out of Firefly.
I guess that basically means he doesn't ever have the threat of the Adepts getting into the main. Although now you have to come around that wall yourself to shoot at the Adepts hitting your battery. It's a little bit awkward as we do just get that pylon in place. I don't think the Adepts are going to commit anyway. Yeah, it's a little bit strange. I'm not sure how much this helps you. I feel like it hurts you as well. You've got a gateway exposed against a larger attack. It's very intriguing.
I think it's okay if you're stood in front of it.
Yeah.
Which, oh, okay, he's coming out for a little bit of a fight here. And I mean, again, with that nice little wall that he has, you can just say, like, hey, I don't have to worry about them getting in my main, but in my probe line, oh, those are some juicy force fields, though. This is definitely going to be quite a bit of damage, and those sentries do pack a punch now against these shields.
I'm actually worried that we're losing a lot of these Adepts because Firefly is set up with a Prism already as well. It's only 2 gates, but I kind of feel as though he might be able to get across the map to some extent. And if he gets across the map, yeah, Jieshi doesn't have a lot right now. He starts an Immortal, though. That would obviously be a big part of the defense. And it looks as though it's just going to be 2 Adepts to try and get in and deal some harassing damage. So actually going to shade past the Stalkers, and they can just walk into the natural and kill some probes.
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, this is very exposed right now, and trying to sync up these attacks a little bit keeps one of these Adepts out of harm's way just by picking up with the Warp Prism. And so far, nice little bit of counter damage. Blink is on the way of Jieshi. Firefly, I don't think he's yet with a Twilight Council. No, he is not. So he is all about this attack right here, right now. And I tell you what, oh, I thought he was going to go for it then, but there was an Immortal. Shield batteries are very late here with this attack.
Yeah, I actually think Firefly is a bit too far forward with his units. I think he should be force fielding that army away and targeting the batteries, and then he can continue to force field the Immortal out of a fight. And if he did that, I think he could be able to get into a very good position, but that is Not going to be quite how this plays. A couple of Adepts will drop down, or Adepts and Stalkers drop down. We'll try and go for some mineral damage instead. We get a couple of probes, nothing too major. And this does seem to be defended. And you've got to be very careful, and I think Firefly's right to start backing away. He's not quite sure the exact timing on Blink. The last thing you want is to end up against Blink here, right? You know, you don't want to be on the map, get blinked on, lose everything. That's a very quick way to lose out.
There's a massive supply block for Jieshi, by the way. Like, Firefly kind of did him a favor by killing as many probes as he did, because then he could keep on making them. But it just led to the same supply block that he was initially in. And to be fair to Jieshi, he still is ahead in probes, despite losing like the same amount here. So he's done a good job in a lot of ways. And this is almost a reverse of the first game between them, in that Firefly's not taken a third base at all this game. And it does look like he is very much about just dealing damage with all the units that he has. And a Robo Bay along with Blink on the way for Jieshi. He might be biting off more than he can chew here.
Yes, the Immortals get a pile on now, trying to push forward and get his Stalker as, well, these Immortals are going to have a very good time killing structures as they try and set up. Probes keep wandering across. Now we've got Adepts into this mineral line, and Firefly is finding a lot of damage. Defense is definitely not clean, and these Immortals still dancing. At this point, they can probably just start hitting the Nexus and really apply further pressure. With 5 probes killed, Firefly's doing a good job, taking no damage at home. And yeah, by fighting this Nexus, you do put some extra pressure on, but he's a little bit late to lift up, and the Blink does come through.
Ooh.
And he stuck around too long, and he does lose out in a big way. Cleanup from Jieshi in the end. It just took a long time to get there.
It did. I mean, you never want to lose 2 Immortals with a Warp Prism. Like, technically, I know Blink is a scary beast, but that was Firefly just getting a little bit too eager there, a little bit. And Resource Loss tab very close between them now, and Firefly, he's so far behind on that third base. He's behind on tech as well. Is there anything truly going for him? I mean, higher count of Stalkers, and he does have a Warp Prism on the map, but Jieshi's setting himself up very nicely in this game.
See a couple more Force Fields dropping in here. Stalker, Immortal, Disruptor. Going to be held back. A couple Stalkers already pinging there as the Disruptor shot fires through, but does not land. And moving forwards once again, and that Disruptor is going to get caught in the front, so can't retreat away. Good Force Fields from Firefly. He gets the pick off on this, and again with Force Fields he can really dictate this fight, stopping those Immortals from being able to get kind of involved. And currently just going after the Nexus. Super Battery will activate onto the Nexus. We have a new Disruptor here. Got to be super careful of that. Disruptor shot fires, we can blink away. One Stalker didn't get the memo about blinking him out of there. However, we do have the numbers to just keep on trading, and Super Battery's too far away to save that Immortal as well. Another nice catch for Firefly.
It is, but I think Jieshi is doing enough here to survive. I mean, Warp Prism does add a lot of potential to this army, and honestly, Firefly's been microing very well against this, hasn't he? Been picking off a lot of these big high-tech units. That Nexus is incredibly low as well. This is very, very close between them. Firefly will lose that last Immortal of his on the field, and Jieshi, I think he's setting himself up here for a nice 2-0, very potentially.
Yes, I mean, he has held this off. +1 is done. It looked very scary from him. I really felt like there was a lot of good moments out of Firefly. Firefly like this, realizing that it's maybe not all about him right now, will dive through in a couple of different ways to try and get some workers and get some damage. I think that's one of the ways he's going to help himself out in a big way. So like that. Now the Adept show up on the right side as well, so he really is going to find himself some good damage. It's going to put him back onto a worker lead. And yeah, just keeps his opponent kind of from pushing across the map as well, right? Because now the last thing that you're thinking of as Jieshi is, oh yeah, let's move across the map. I've just seen a bunch of aggressive Stalkers and a bunch of aggressive Adepts. I'm clearly safe to leave my base.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that both these players are far more comfortable attacking than defending. Like Jieshi so far, he's kind of floundering about a little bit here, and Firefly's making a lot of good harass moves. Every single attack he's doing is getting damage in one way or another. And the fact that Jieshi is constantly bleeding out in this game, 21 workers have died from him, that is no small number. He's getting charged online and whatnot, but these Warp Prism attacks, like these 2 Adepts, I don't know what kind of kill numbers they have on them apiece, but it's huge, the amount of damage he's got done with so little.
Yes.
And look at where he's positioned now, Jieshi. Like, he is not ready for this attack that's right at his natural at all. And maybe Firefly's just going to go for round 2 here, where it's like, you know what? The attack over here went pretty good. I'm just going to blink away again. And maybe he gets caught a little bit. Nice blinking so far. Oh, does lose one Stalker for his trouble. Nicely handled, to be fair. That could have been a lot worse for him.
It could have been... the fact that he only lost one Stalker was very nice, and what you say, the Temple Archives and Robobait going up from Firefly, so he's like, oh, time to double down and getting some extra tech up in this. Stalkers continue to blink over that left-hand side. We see a few more being killed, and Jieshi comes down to the bottom. We do see the Prism showing up, going to come in, drop down a couple of those Adepts, and they're going to be able to get some probe kills as well. So, again, the harassment just keeps continuing. However, Jieshi's had enough of it. He's going to be across the map now, and he's going to be the aggressor. You mentioned that he might like attacking. Well, this is his turn to make the attack happen.
It is, and this base is not set up yet. And Jieshi, despite losing so many workers this game, he's actually ahead on workers here. So as long as he trades all right, upgrades the same between them, it's a true Stalker fight. These Adepts, I looked at it, got 9 and 6 kills apiece, so they've been worth their weight in gold. Fighting against the shield battery overcharge, though, that is going to be a bit risky, but I think he might have the numbers. It's not even charged up anymore. Jieshi bullying about here, but the numbers are so damn close between them.
It feels like he's just about a warping away from overwhelming, but of course his opponent has defensive warp-ins available too, so the numbers stay very similar. He does keep kind of bleeding a couple of Zealots in. The problem is I think Jieshi's having is he's actually trading badly with his Zealots because they keep getting stuck behind Stalkers. If he actually got his Zealots through to the front each time, I think he would have had a way better trade so far and might have just closed this out already. Now he's fighting on this low ground. Both players have Stalkers not in the fight because of the choke that's being played in. The Prism nearly goes down here. The Stalkers blink away when they probably had it if they just committed. In fact, they will come through for it. But now Warpins are lost. Once again, I feel like Firefly's maybe a moment too late on killing the Prism because he kills it just as it feels as though Jieshi is already kind of broken through.
Oy.
He's killed the Nexus, so the play on the Prism, same as last game, was maybe 20 seconds too late.
Yeah, and Jieshi just used all that money that he had, and he had so much of it water. He had a good, like, 1,200 minerals banked. Don't know where he warped in exactly. There is a big warping in the main base of Jieshi, but this feels like it's Firefly just trying to buy time in some way, right? And does keep his Warp Prism alive against the little Stalker, and he's being aggressive at Jieshi's fourth base, but look at those supplies. They do not lie, and takes down a few of those shield batteries, but has to run away with his tail between his legs.
Run away as the Prism comes in here to the top side, to the 12 o'clock. Firefly will warp in and will be able to grab a few probes. So again, we're back to this point where Firefly is going to throw the kitchen sink at Jieshi to just try and get damage done. But this time, Jieshi's a lot closer to kind of cleaning it up quickly. He doesn't have to run around silly like he did previously. So that's good to see as Disruptor out of finish, plus 2 attacks coming through. These Stalkers get over to the side and we'll get a couple probes on the go as well.
Certainly will. And blinks out of there again, getting a little bit of damage done. How many probes have died now in this game? 35 killed for Firefly, 9 killed for Jieshi, so it's not totally lopsided there, but Firefly's just doing whatever he can to keep Jieshi away from him, so a lot of this might look desperate, and that's because it is. Firefly does not have long left. He did try and fire off a Disruptor there. Don't know what it connected with exactly. Probably nothing by the looks of it, because that is a lot of blue Protoss here.
And he's just blinking on top of these Stalkers. That Disruptor on the left-hand side, I think Jieshi has something to see it, so he shouldn't be caught by surprise by that Disruptor. We'll see the Disruptor on the other direction. Well, yeah, he blinks into this one. He gets rid of it. He got away from the other one, too. Third base goes down for Firefly, and it's really a matter of time until GG is called, and that will be it right then and there, as Jieshi takes himself to a 2-0 lead. Another fun game, but man, Jieshi just seems to be the slightly better player right now, where he's just able to eke out the edges and really make the most of those edges. Because it's not a huge amount he's winning by, but he's just manipulating the slight things in his favor a little better than what Firefly is able to thus far.
No, it definitely is. I mean, I do think Firefly, if he can get the game going, a lot of his attacks, especially with the force fielding stuff, it looked a bit neater and tidier. Like that attack at the third base where he force fielded out that Disruptor and stuff, like it wasn't the cleanest defense out of Jieshi. But we got to remember, like, that losing that Immortal, or the 2 Immortals in the Warp Prism, was huge. Like, that wasn't something that Firefly was banking on happening at all. You really saw that kind of floundering behind it. And then he kept Jieshi back on his side of the map and did a good job. But then as soon as he was unleashed, it was just like, oh, my army's just smaller, it's worse, and loses his 4th, and it was just kind of spiraled out of control a bit. But all the harass and stuff, if there's anything for Firefly going forward in this series, it is the fact that the harassment went so damn well against him, which, yeah, it felt like multitask-wise, he's got a bit of an edge against Jieshi, and his map control as well, but Jieshi's just very solid when it comes to just getting the attack going, you know?
Yes. He is constantly... I love how... It was really funny because you said, like, he's, like, they're both kind of happier attacking, and you can kind of see that the defense wasn't pretty for Jieshi, and then he was eventually like, cool, I've caught, like, the slightest moment of break, and instantly he's across the map because he just wants to be the aggressor. He wants to put Firefly under that pressure of figuring out when and why and how he should be trading. And by doing so, I think put himself into a very good spot, because that is kind of what tipped the scales in his favor eventually. So, kind of cool to see that in action. The players both readied up here for game number 3. We're going to Golden Aura. We're counting down into our third map, and Jieshi is on the verge of victory and through to round 2 of these playoffs. Whereas Firefly needs to start bringing it back. He needs 3 in a row to avoid an early trip down to the lower bracket.
And he certainly does. And I mean, this is a player that's given him troubles in the past, and you can see why. Like, they are both just very good about the attacking once they're ahead. And Firefly was good at stalling that out and making a real meal out of it for his opponent. But at the end of the day, this man spawning over in the bottom right, he's cooking. It is the blue Protoss. It is Jieshi.
Top left. Time to really bring it all. If you want to avoid that lower bracket, the red Protoss player is Firefly.
You know, going into the series, I mean, I think more people know Firefly, just the fact that he's made it to, I think, or he's been in the limelight a little bit more, but it doesn't mean that he's the guaranteed favorite here, right? Like, going into this, I think we always knew it was going to be a tough one, but if Jieshi does sweep this 3-0, that is definitely a surprise for me.
I'd be surprised that it was so one-sided.
Yeah.
Because to me, it should absolutely be back and forth. And do you think form-wise, Jieshi has shown us that he has been a little bit better? But Firefly is definitely not been as good this season as I expected him to be. But when they match up against one another, I expect it to be close. And there's parts of the games themselves that are close, but obviously 3-0 is still a 3-0. And that is still Jieshi who's just getting the better end of each and every one of those scenarios. So there's definitely a difference there. And that definitely seems the way it's going to be right now. We're still sticking to the builds early, by the way, with the 1-gate versus 2-gate setup that we talked about in both games 1 and 2. So still no difference made on that one.
Also, I think we can't fail to mention that Jieshi is yet to lose a map in this region, which is pretty crazy because of players that are in this region. You know, there's quite a few good ones at this point, but 2-0 SCV, 2-0 Coffee, 2-0 Cyan, and now 2-0 up against Firefly as well. That is not easy. Not easy at all. Opponent, no lifelines left.
Nexus drops in from Firefly. And just goes down immediately again, putting used to that 1-gate straight away. Sentry starts up, and Jieshi decides it's Stargate time. So he'll just go Stargate before he expands himself. We'll see how aggressive he gets with that Stargate. I do expect this to still be an expansion, of course, from Jieshi, but yeah, we'll absolutely look to have that pressure. You get a couple Oracles up, and they're so valuable throughout the game. They're always an option to kind of try and get in and deal a couple of bits of damage, so things to watch for.
Definitely is. Both getting a decent scout of what the other guy is going for. Oh, okay. For a second there, I was like, what's this little cheeky probe up to? I thought it was one of the Jieshis at first going to the very bottom left. I was like, no, this is too wild, man, too wild. But Nexus does start up. Firefly's going to go for the 2 extra gateways again. And he's going to go for... We're going to call it the Firefly wall off here, aren't we?
It's definitely a Firefly wall because I've not seen anyone else do it. Not in recent times, not in PvP. You know, this is something that's, you know, back in the day when you had to open, like, 3-gate expands against Zerg, and you had, like, wide open naturals. This was how you would wall off against, like, Zerg players. I'm talking, like, Wings of Liberty, like, Metalopolis and stuff. You'd kind of go from your ramp to your Nexus, and there'd be, like, a portion of the, you know, the base that's open. Nowadays, every single natural has a narrow entryway, otherwise it wouldn't make ladder map rules, so... But yeah, Firefly is kind of living it large, man.
I do miss those Protoss layouts where they'd take a Nexus, and they'd build, like, their cannon right next to it and block it off with 2 pylons and a gateway.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering why that stopped, well, Ravager made pretty short work of those walls. Two Adepts do find a little bit of damage right. Oh, nice saving it. But the Oracle comes to the main base, is greeted by a shield battery. So far, maybe not quite what Jieshi was looking for, because he would have hoped for this Oracle in the main dealing a lot of damage as well. But only losing 2 Adepts so far, not bad at all. And will actually get some probes for his trouble.
Yeah, I don't mind it, right? He's draining that battery of energy, and look at the follow-up, by the way. Dark Shrine coming through. Well, Firefly is just sending this with no tech structure, 4 gates. The Dark Shrine is a timer in this game, because the Dark Shrine is an answer defensively, and it's a game ender offensively as well, right? So, you got Jieshi right now. Oh no, I'm going to lose my natural. This is really bad. But as that Dark Shrine takes ever closer, you are on your way to having a way to push back these units, and also, again, be aggressive on the other side that your opponent currently has no way to stop. I think right now, if you're Firefly and you're like, okay, I'm killing the Nexus, you've just got to drop a robo down. Obviously, this hallucination is going to get the scout in as well. But you've just got to do it. Yeah, not the Dark Shrine. But you've just got to go and throw a robo down, because the only thing you're losing to right now is something you can't see.
Absolutely, yeah. I think seeing that Twilight Council, in fact, maybe Jieshi started up the blink there just to kind of fake that he was going to utilize it. I love the Colossus for the high ground vision here on the gateways. Limiting the gateway number could be kind of cool. Now, Jieshi did warp in that Dark Templar from the gateway that was dying. I think that was intentional by him as well. Speeds are done. Robo, where is it? It's in the natural. And I tell you what, this Oracle... Yeah, in the main, sorry. That's what I was looking at. But this Oracle was trying to slow things down. It does know where the target is as well. And that's a big deal.
Yes.
Oh.
As the DTs show up, there's DT trying to get in the main, the Observer's on the way, and I think Firefly has done it, because at this point these DTs are never going to do enough before an Observer pops out. So, yeah, Jieshi tried to really go kind of all out here with the Dark Shrine. As the Observer pops, these DTs die, Jieshi is down a base, and he knows that this one is not going to last much longer. Firefly will take game number 3, and we are going to keep this series going. We are not going to wrap it up just yet. Firefly fights back.
That was actually a nice game from Firefly. I like all the scouting and maneuvering, and the Great Wall of Firefly as well. Made those DTs take a little bit longer to get in there. But no, it was just clean, wasn't it? Like, knew when to move out, get a lot of damage done, killing that natural. Then getting the confirmation of like, all right, need to get this down, because it's the only thing I can lose to, as he said. Just overall, nice game out of him.
Lovely stuff as we get...
Game 5.
Yeah. I don't think it's Game 5, it's Game 4, but hopefully that was just a typo.
Yeah, our ref, man, he's wonderful. Have you ever gone to his camera positioning?
He's always in the corner, right?
Yeah. When I'm trying to find map in the game, and then it's like sometimes I switch to the players and stuff, and I go back to the ref, and it's like, oh, he's having a lovely time looking at the scenery over there in the corner.
I know, it's he's always somewhere kind of just like out in the middle of nowhere, isn't it, right?
Absolutely is. After this match, by the way, just to talk about the next match in this region, it is going to be Nanami and Nice, and that's also going to be a bit of a spicy one. It's not been as easy a road to the top for Nice in this region as it used to be. Like, at all. It's actually quite problematic. And Nanami, he has showcased that he's not easy. He's also one of these Protosses that is on the rise. Did lose to Haas 1-2, but then beat Jim, XY, and then beat Oliveira to get into the tip-top bracket here.
Yeah, it's... honestly, Nanami's been playing well. I wonder how the PvP will look for him going up against Nice. I think Nice, at the end of the day, is always someone who's good enough to kind of show up, and while Nice maybe had the rougher qualification to the playoffs, it still would kind of maybe favor him a little bit. It's going to be a really interesting series. Again, I think that's what's really cool about this region. You don't really have too many favorites, and at this point, when you do have favorites, they're not really too favored over the others. I mean, Nanami might be the most underdog name in this bracket at this point, considering Leban's already proven himself today. So, yeah, that's all kind of excitement, all ready to go. I went on the referee camera just to see if I could show everyone what you're on about, but he's actually in a base this time, Ben. So
he's in a base. He's in a base.
Yeah, no corner camping this time around. He's in the bottom left.
Yeah, you have to wait till the game starts getting good, you know.
Oh,
and
okay.
then stop looking. I'm going to bet it's the top left corner of this game. He loves the plants and stuff, you know?
Alright, well, bottom left side, it is going to be our blue Protoss player, Jieshi.
And it's one on the top right-hand side, as our red Protoss, it is Firefly. Did you ever watch Firefly, Wardy?
No.
No? Oh.
Is that the show that only had one season, and everyone wants more?
Yeah, it was the one that people went absolutely nuts about them cancelling it. Ooh, mix-up from Firefly here. Double gateway.
Yeah, not going to play that single gate anymore. I wonder if there's anything in particular that he feels about, you know, or he thinks about here that's better for double gate. Because it is interesting to be like 4 maps deep and then switch it up. So, intriguing.
He's had enough of all these Adepts being on the map early on and him kind of, you know, having to be a little bit of a punching bag to his opponent for the first 5 minutes.
It's very true. I mean, he gives him more of a chance to be the aggressor from the very get-go. I mean, he still became the aggressor last game, pushing across the map, right? But it gives him more aggressive opportunities even sooner, because 2 gates just mean more units. He might just be sick of dealing with like a lot of Adepts as well without as many units himself. And this time it's going to be 2 Stalkers versus 2 Stalkers, and so that pushing potential is there, but obviously if they match each other, there shouldn't be too much that happens, and this could just negate out to eventually seeing an expansion from both.
And maybe this is the kind of game that Firefly is actually more comfortable with. Because, I mean, the 1 gate expand, you don't know who they've been practicing with, and maybe he's been playing a lot of mirror games like that. And maybe it's what he's far more familiar with when his opponent kind of greets the challenge, whereas Jieshi's just been like, oh, you're doing that? Okay, let's be really aggro. And it has he has showcased some flaws, or rather some holes in the defense of Firefly, and Firefly here is just like, you know what? 2 Stalkers, let's go, go, go. Jieshi again going for the Stargate this game. He hasn't been the Proxy Robo Kid, though, which, you know, that has surprised me out of his play. We'll use this probe first to get the few shots off first, and
that's really nice.
Because of it,
it saves
the probe alive. Wow.
Yeah, the probe staying alive was the bit where I was like, oh my god. Obviously, we are going to see 1 more Stalker popping in a moment, but only the 1 because we invested into the Stargate, so he did not have double unit production for a bit. These 2 Stalkers run away, but the next couple of units are coming. It is 2 more Stalkers from Firefly. Here she is right to back away. He knows reinforcements are on the way out, and it is possible that obviously it's 2 versus 1, because he knows that he himself has cut a unit for tech, and that might not be the case on the other side, as it is the Robo from Firefly. Now as he gets sentries, gets a Robo, I feel like aggressive opportunities arise. That Stalker just gets the battery up in time to keep it alive after taking a bad shot.
Certainly does. Different tech choices from the both of them. Oracle is out. Jieshi moving straight into the Twilight Council. Firefly on his side of things going straight for that Robo. So different avenues at every opportunity. I mean, the build orders were initially same, but tech choices so damn different for both of them. I think Firefly's got some Stalkers here and there, but I mean, it's quite a few sentries. And that Oracle, yeah, was greeted. Not friendly greeting, but was greeted by quite a lot of units, and Jieshi was definitely hoping for more.
He was. Definitely would have liked to get some more damage done here, but this is great for us because Firefly takes an early lead. He's down in the series. If he wins this, we can see our first game 5 of the day as Oracle very nearly goes down. It is going to be hurting in the corner, and of course, it may be regenerating some shields, but it's still going to be an easy target for deeper in this game.
Our ref really... Oh, Mapu's doing the ref move. I was going to say, our ref really enjoys Jieshi's base. He's loving it. All right. Nice big scout here from that Oracle, and does get out of there. And he's the one that's going to have the mobile army. He's getting that blink online very quickly. Twilight counts. Firefly must have cancelled his Robo at some point, right? And gone back into the Twilight?
Yes, because he definitely saw a Robo.
Yeah. So he's got that Twilight now. Will be going into Blink most likely. Delaying it quite a bit, though. And does have a much earlier third than Jieshi. Jieshi without a third yet on the map.
Yes, that only just dropping down now. We are going to see the difference in bases. We saw it in the earlier PvP too. This is going to be a forward triangular setup from Firefly. Jieshi is going to opt for that left-hand side kind of linear base setup. It's going to be much harder for Firefly to get to for a long time because he's going to have to knock down some rocks to open up access there. Again, just seeing this map delivering different base layouts as Jieshi is going to be having Blink in a second. That's terrifying for Firefly because his Blink is so far away. I mean, Firefly really has nothing to show for the lack of blink because he went Robo then cancelled into Twilight. So it's not like he had another tech structure and that's why his blink is late. Because we're going to get the force fields here, but then we can just blink backwards and Firefly's like, wait a second, this was meant to be great for me. And now I just lost a bunch of Stalkers and did nothing but deal some damage that you can heal up from.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Firefly is maybe gaming himself a little bit too hard in this series, doesn't it? Like, he definitely being caught off guard. Jieshi is suffering from a little bit of a supply block here, getting the charge. They're both getting the +1 weapons on the go. That is one thing that Firefly does have the advantage over Firefly here, but again, just that resources lost tab. It's all about Jieshi right now.
All about Jieshi. Yes, he has only lost 50 resources in the game, which is pretty darn impressive, so that really does set him up in a good place. The question is, what does he do next? He's getting charged, he's getting his own Robo facility, and Firefly's going to get his own blink up, and he is ahead on that +1 timing as well, so there is a little window there that is beneficial.
And soon the blink will be done for Firefly, and then they're playing an even game of ball, because right now it is not a fair match, which is why Firefly is sitting so far back. And I like this out of Jieshi, probably realizing that economically, maybe not super far ahead, but takes a very quick fourth, almost taking a page out of Lemon's book here. And in fact, if I count the gases on his side of things, yeah, just rolling off 2 gases all the way so far.
Very low gas count, so just super high unit count instead. And this is an interesting 4th base from Firefly. We've now expanded to within like a screen of each other in the top left, which is obviously a pretty huge deal. So that's going to get very interesting as well here. The fact that these two are now getting very close to one another. And that could cause some conflict, as I don't think Jieshi really knows it yet. As these Stalkers show up, he might want to go. Oh, he just blinked into the rocks on the bottom side.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on the minimap. I was like, that was an F2 blink if I've ever seen one, where it's like, oh, get into position. Oh no, rocks in the way. And this is the power of these avenues, man. Firefly was just far more aware of what Jieshi was doing, and I tell you what, now that it's his turn to get some moves done, he's absolutely done it, and will bleed out some units on the retreat here. He is ahead on getting the +2 upgrades, but I mean, Jieshi, given that Nexus got cancelled, he has a lot of money in the bank to just warp in, and this is a hard spot to defend, Wardy. I think he might suffer his own 4th loss here.
Yeah, this is really bad because he only has one tiny little root of minerals mined out, so you can't even get out of it easily. We try and blink for the Prism, but that's a volley that is not useful because the Prism will now get to warp in anyways. Now the Stalkers are trying to run through that gap. 4th base given up, and for it all starting out brilliantly for Firefly, it's completely backfired on him, and he is not going to get out of this what he wanted.
Not at all. That was such a horrible retreat path, and Jieshi, upon losing that 4th location, at least he got to cancel his, whereas Firefly, it finished and then it was done. I mean, this could bite him in the butt a little bit. Does blink onto that Warp Prism in the top there, and Warp Prism does go down, so a little bit of a lifeline was granted there on the other side of things, but he does take a fairly vulnerable 4th location in a way, because he hasn't gone. But now we're seeing the avenues again, and Jieshi very blind to this attack that's happening. This has been happening to him a lot in this series. Once he's on the defensive, he just has no idea where his opponent is.
Yeah, just blind, right? Just lets Firefly get in position. Well, he says, you know what, I don't mind, because we're just going to go base trading. Obviously, Firefly gets the jump on that because he was just ready to go a little bit sooner. And we actually have a few units defensively for Firefly as well. Jieshi has more army supply going into this. We're going to pop the barrier on that Immortal. A few Zealots get in the front, so the Immortal doesn't last too long. We're one-shotting here, so the Super Battery doesn't matter too much. And we do knock that down. The probes will be pulled to defend. I don't think Jieshi has too much at home defensively to kind of pull his own probes with. And now the army supplies have evened out. He sends a few units back, Super Battery popping, but he definitely wants to pull the probes, because if his opponent's done it, he kind of needs to do it too.
I feel that this was all so unnecessary from Jieshi, you know, like so unnecessary. I don't think he needed to launch it across the map like he did. He just needed to be aware about where the army was, and he was caught in a spot where it's like, oh, I'm not really on a probe line right now. Definitely did some economic damage himself, but he's made this game so much harder. I think he didn't quite understand that he was actually quite far ahead here.
Yeah. But Judge, I mean, it's been a bit of a weird game where he's taken damage and, you know, found him on the counter, but hard to kind of place exactly where you're at. Now he's attacking again, but he's way down supply. He's going to lose his Prism as well, and this army is going to be stranded in between 2 forces. However, the force from the upper right of Firefly is not showing up, and he does not have charge, so the Zealots are not great. And Jieshi is actually going to be able to clean up those Zealots. He's actually going to turn them around. I feel like this is a moment where you're like, that was a get out of jail free card for him, and he's just gonna walk himself back into jail.
Yeah, I mean, I think he knows he's taken way too much damage. Like, Firefly absolutely steamrolling in this game, and look, he knows that he's ahead, and he knows that army of stalkers is so damn tiny. Charge or not, he's just got the numbers at this point, and tell you what, Jieshi, he's going to be kicking himself for this one.
Yeah, he really is. He really let Firefly control this game more so than was ever really necessary. And multiple times just walked into fights that he did not need to go walking into. He could have been in a much more comfortable position. And, yeah, Stalkers and Firefly continue now down to the south, where they are going to just go and pretty much end this. I mean, we're over double the army supply now. It's going to be very difficult for Jieshi to find the units to stop this. So, Firefly, we're going to bring us all the way back to Game 5 in this series.
And I tell you what, even though Jieshi's been fairly good about just winning out games, once the game gets a little bit messy or scrappy or, you know, maneuvering the map, it does feel like Firefly is outplaying him quite a bit.
Yeah, Firefly kind of wins on the movement, but Jieshi seems to win on the earlier kind of setup and the earlier fights somewhat. So that's definitely an interesting comparison. We are going to Game 5. We are going to get the full series here, so that is awesome. We'll get that ready to rumble and see whether or not we are going to have ourselves a complete reverse sweep, or if Jieshi can just pull it together at the very end to get back to where he was starting with a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and I tell you what, from being 2-0 down, potentially with the clean sweep, well, I mean, one map away from it, or reverse sweep rather, that is quite a nice spot to be in. And I feel that this has happened to Jieshi before, like against Cyan, you know? It was one of those things where back then he was doing the same build every time and then Cyan caught wind of it. But this isn't that at all. Like, Jieshi has absolutely been mixing it up a little bit with his choices and whatnot. And if he had his army in the right position there, like his most vulnerable base was the one on the left, he kind of was caught in the middle of the map and then it's like, damn, what do I do? I'll counterattack it. But it was too late. Definitely a brutal loss for him there.
Well, Site Delta will be the final map, so it is this map that has that ramp. So we may actually see Jieshi move away from the 2-gate and actually go 1-gate as well. So that's a possibility that obviously opens the doors for aggression or just a differently kind of paced game. So it's something we'll be watching out for as we get this Game 5 ready to go. We are just missing Firefly from this, so get him in here and we'll hopefully be able to go into this PvP. As it is going to be Site Delta for map 5, and to send someone through to that next round of the winner bracket. Again, the way it stands here in the standings is that the Oliveira Lemon winner bracket round of 4 match is set, so the winner of this will play the winner of Nanami and Nice. So I gotta feel like, I mean, I would say whoever wins here is my favorite in the next round as well. It doesn't matter whether that's Jieshi or Firefly. So, and don't get me wrong, not easy, but definitely potentially you win this and you've got a good chance of making it through to upper bracket finals, which is a great opportunity. That's guaranteed top 3 if you're upper bracket finals. So some cool stuff there.
It's definitely the nicer side of the bracket to be on, because, you know, over in that other side of the bracket, Wardy, you've got the absolute rock star, the well-seasoned veteran, Lemon.
He is, man.
No, I mean, Lemon and Oliveira, to be honest, they're both absolutely packing this season. So yeah, you don't really want to be running into either of those mad lads. So yeah, if it's going to be Firefly Jieshi against Nanami Nice over here, there's definitely one side of the bracket that I'm a lot more scared of being in.
I'm 100% with you. Well, it's time to figure out who is going to launch themselves into the winner bracket round of 4 and who's going to be heading down to the lower bracket for an early kind of fight for their life tomorrow. Let's go into game, as in the bottom right corner, it will be the red Protoss player, Firefly.
And spawning over in the left, was 2-0 up, but now life on the line, 2-2 apiece. It is the blue Protoss, it is Jieshi. Low ground pylons. This is where they truly get to test their mettle, a different kind of PvP. And who's better at it?
You know, from the very get-go, you'd maybe think Firefly because he's opened 1 gate already a lot in this series, so perhaps that gives him a slight edge here that he's more comfortable opening with that 1 gate, but this is also something which everyone has had to do at PvP. You don't just forget how to do something, right? So, you know, there's been map pools that have had a lot more maps with the ramps on. And so from there, we, you know, should have the experience as Jieshi to still come up with something.
No, yeah, definitely. You can't avoid these maps. You haven't been able to. Like, the amount of ramps are less nowadays, I guess. But every Protoss that is playing at this sort of level and beyond has to have practiced on these maps with the 1-gate expand. It's just too good not to. And these guys, they're here for a reason. They're really damn good. I mean, Jieshi was he was looking like he was cruising into the semi-finals, the upper bracket semi-finals, without dropping a map, which is insane. But Firefly pushed him to the limits, and equally so vice versa as well. Nice early Nexus for Jieshi here. Did skimp out on the early Zealot, but gets away with it.
Yes, getting that down quickly is amazing. So we'll just have the extra probe advantage or so perhaps from that. It's a very little difference, but can add up a little bit further down the line. This map pool is kind of interesting because obviously we've got 9 maps, and you might expect, well, there's even more chance you play a map with a ramp, but the actual current map pool, a lot of the maps with ramps disappeared, and instead you have like maps like Post-Youth, which have an in-base expand, or Dynasty, which has like also kind of an in-base expand, but like points outwards, right? I think that's kind of the big deal, because all of a sudden you're looking at this and saying, well, okay, now my PvPs, that you don't really want to play those weird maps because the in-base expands in PvP, they're not just 1-gate friendly, they are, you know, pretend you're 1-gating, but your opponent can't see what you're doing, and then do all the cheesy stuff in the world. So then they really get avoided, so you play a lot more of these maps that do not have, you know, ramps because, well, none of the others do. So it's kind of interesting how this map pool is played out for the matchup. But at a good time because of the center change. Kind of makes up for it.
This early Adept getting over here, I like the patience from him being at the top of the ramp, just seeing where the other Adept was. And I tell you what, he can get quite a bit of probe damage done here. And it's even going to be in a gnarly spot. Has a Stalker as well, blocks the probe in. No Adept can get in. Jieshi, oh, this is not how you want it to happen if you're Firefly. 7 probes to that for 8.
Oh my god.
Jeez, Lou. And it's alive.
Yeah, G's times 2 is that is brutal. 8 workers down. Firefly is hurting already. I mean, he's building an Immortal, but what do you even do now? You just send an Immortal attack across the map? That's going to be very much so depowered from what it wants to be. Now, this is rough, and Adept gets in from Firefly. He's like, maybe it's my time to kill a whole bunch of, well, yeah, I got 1. Well, that ain't going to do it.
And I was just looking at the probe count as well. I think Firefly kind of stumbled on making some probes. I mean, there's 1 Immortal, 1 Brave Immortal. Let's look at his journey across this map here, because there's a second one coming as well. Firefly, I mean, he kind of has to do something, and to be fair, Immortals do pack a punch, but I don't know. It's rough. I mean, Jieshi looks like he's moving over to try and take a 3rd base with this nice and early. I don't know.
A little bit extreme, right? Like, you just did game-ending damage with, like, 1 or 2 Adepts. Like, maybe we don't need to be on the super greedy 3rd without knowing what your opponent's doing.
No, I mean, that probe, if he was looking, I think it did manage to spot that. I'm almost thinking if you're Firefly, you shouldn't reveal this.
I'm with you. I think you just let him have the Nexus.
Yeah, like, that's a big commitment. Now you've just revealed that you've got this on this side of the map. I don't... Not sure. I mean, it's still scary, right? That's a lot of plus armor damage, and I'll tell you what, he could... Nah, can he stop blink in time? I mean, it's 10 seconds away. Can super battery overcharge it, which would be a big deal. I think he should do that, by the way. Maybe.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, does get it done. Does get it done.
He's okay. Ooh. As we do now, just send it. We're just going to be able to pick off the first Immortal. Second Immortal getting jumped on as well. Force field going down. We will just continue to hunt, and that Immortal is going to get chased by 1 Stalker. And this looks as though it should just be good enough from Jieshi to just break through, punch out, and secure this series.
Yeah, sad way for Firefly to eventually go out, eh? The single Adept getting in there, dealing that much damage. Brutal. Now he's got this infrastructure on the map as well that is just going to get taken out, and a couple of, like an observer here as well. It's just like, yeah, I'll look at everything dying. It's what it is.
It is what it is. As a couple of devs continue through. have ourselves the jump into the main base, just try and find something here, but Stalkers are going to
nice
block. They're going to be able to deal with this as well, so that's going to be part of the problem. Let's just have ourselves the Adepts getting cleaned up, and again, Jieshi just absolutely in a dream position.
Yeah, this is really, really, really a horrible situation to be in. You can't forget how much of an investment as well those Immortals were. That's so much money, and I mean, he's going to try and slow down his opponent here, but by whipping out a couple more Immortals for this Warp Prism, but nothing looks good right now for Firefly. Nothing. Behind him probes, tech as well. I mean, he does have the Robo, obviously, but it's not as if Jieshi's lacking that. He's getting observers out. He's even getting cannons here, because he's like, you know what? I don't want to lose to DTs. Has he split them up between the bases? Yeah, he has. So that's how comfortable he's feeling.
Yes, he is gotta be feeling pretty good. I mean, honestly, this is just, I mean, Firefly is so far away from finding an answer to this. Going to be down the base. He's got a couple of Maws with a +1, the charge and everything continuing through. All looking very good.
Yeah, I mean, this is still an army after respect. Like, has to use his mobility and stuff to deal with it, but by the time this crosses the map... Oh, it doesn't even get the Stalker. By the time this crosses the map, Jieshi's going to have more than enough ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he doesn't, right? Even if he has to buy some time for +1 and charge, like, he should be absolutely fine. As Stalkers just will trade a little bit. Obviously, they can just jump away, get rid of the sentry, so gets rid of some opportunity there as well.
There's only a shield battery over here. Okay, there is one being made here, which is pretty decently timed for a fight happening. Oh, it's the Zealots. That's like me and Roddy running, you know, compared to normal charge lots. Not too quick we are. But, you know, what we lack in speed, we make up for enthusiasm, and we're going. And I tell you what, Firefly, he's really trying to bring it, but now those charge lots, speedy diet, they're cooking, and GG Firefly. Oof.
Yeah, Jieshi is going to take it down 3-2 in this.